Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a series review over TJ Klune's Green Creek series. And I really enjoyed the series overall. I have read two other books by TJ Klune. That was The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. And I have a review for both of those books and I will link that down below if you guys want to check that out. And I enjoyed both of those books for the most part, but I really enjoyed this series. This series consists of 4 books and 3 novellas. So I will talk about the first book in the series the most. I will touch on the other books and give you my ratings for everything, but this will be completely spoiler free because I think you should kind of go into this not really knowing much. But just know that I really enjoyed this. When I kind of talk about it to other people and they kind of are like, well, what would you kind of compare this to? I'm like, Twilight. I think it's like another version of Twilight. And they're like, well, do you think it's better than Twilight? Yes, I do. I do think it's better than Twilight. A different version of Twilight and a better version of Twilight at that. So, like I said, I will talk about the first one in a little bit more detail than the other books. I will touch on the other books and kind of let you guys know what I liked about them. And then I will just let you know, like, all of the books to read, the order to read them in. You can, of course, find this on Goodreads. That's how I knew how to read them. And I will link all the books in the description bar of where you can buy them. I will have the links to his novellas in the description because he does have those on his website and they are free. That's how I read those as well. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first book in the Green Creek series is A Wolf Song. And this one follows our main character by the name of Ox. And at the beginning of the story, he is 12 years old and he is living with his mother and father. And at the beginning, his father tells him that he isn't going to be shit. And he leaves his mother and father and he is never to be seen again. And Ox is this kid that is like, he's bigger than everybody else. He really stands out. He's quiet. He keeps to himself. And he's just like that kid that you just kind of want to like put in a hug and never let him go. And because of what his father said to him, that kind of had an effect on him. And, you know, he kind of takes that with him, not even just through this book, but through all of the books. And you can't do anything but help but love him. But that happens at the beginning of this book. And because of that, you know, he is definitely a loner. A couple of years later, a man by the name of Gordo, who works at a car garage, decides that he is going to help Gordo and his mom out because they're kind of struggling with money. He allows Ox to work at the car garage so that he can make a little extra cash to help his mother out with some bills. And that kind of gives Ox a little sense of family because he doesn't really have a lot of friends. And he starts to make friends with the guys at the shop. And the guys that work at the shop are Chris, Tanner, and Rico, and they're a few years older than Ox, I believe. And so he kind of, for the first time, feels like he belongs somewhere. And so around this time too, Ox also runs into someone at a diner by the name of Mark Bennett that lets him know that his family is moving back into the town. And Ox is like, okay. And so one day while he was walking, he runs into this little boy by the name of Joe, and they become fast friends. And it's good to know at this point that there is a bit of an age difference between Joe and Ox. I believe it's about a 6-year age difference, with Ox being the oldest. And they become fast friends, and Joe won't stop talking to Ox. He like is running his mouth a mile a minute. And it's a good point to make because Ox finds out a little bit later that before Joe came back to the town, Joe didn't talk for 2 years. Ox kind of gets acclimated with his family. So Joe has 2 older brothers, which is Carter and Kelly, his mother Elizabeth, and their father Thomas. And the guy Mark that he had ran into in the diner is their uncle. So this family has moved down the street from them. And so Ox is kind of loving his life right now. You know, he has made friends with the guys at the garage. He is making friends with the Bennetts, but he also realizes that something is actually not quite right with the Bennetts. And so essentially in this story, we are watching Ox grow up, and we are watching him as he is navigating his love life. He is having different girlfriends. He learns that he is then bisexual, and then we are watching him have different boyfriends. We are also seeing that Joe isn't liking the different relationships that he's having. And as he gets older, he realizes that the Bennetts are actually a pack of werewolves. And that's a whole thing. So now he has werewolves that are living down the street from him. And then we find out that as they get older, I think around the time that Ox is 23, that him and Joe can no longer deny that they have feelings for each other. And at a certain point, I believe when Joe is around 18, they start to act on those feelings for each other. And also around the time that that starts to happen, danger comes to the town of Green Creek that forces the Bennetts to act, and then puts Ox in a tough situation where he also has to figure out how he is going to protect the people of Green Creek. And that is where this whole series kind of takes off. And so we also learned that not only do we have werewolves in this series, but we also have witches as well. So Wolfsong itself takes place over the course of several years. So it starts off when Ox is 12, and then we see him go from, I think, like 26, 27. So it takes place over a good chunk of time. A lot of this focuses on the relationship between Ox and Joe. And you will actually see that as a theme between all of the books in the series. Each main book in this series actually focuses on a relationship between the main characters in the book. And each book focuses on different main characters. I don't want to tell you the main characters of each book because I feel like that may give away some of the plot in other books, but just know that in each book it does follow different main characters and their relationships. One of my favorite things about these books are the relationships that we follow, the main relationships that we follow, and also the friendships and like the banter that we follow in each of these books. So the people that work down at the garage with Gordo, so we have the Chris, Tanner, and Rico. Those guys are freaking hilarious, and the things that they say are so funny. There were so many times that throughout the course of this book, I found myself laughing out loud. And that's not only with this book, that's also with the other three main books as well. They are so freaking hilarious with some of the things that they say. And then with how close the family is, so with the Bennetts and like the brothers, Carter, Joe, and Kelly, and how they just bring Ox into their family. It's just so heartwarming and touching. And just like how close everybody is, it just really touches your heart. Like I loved all of that. Just like the family aspects, the friendship aspects. I loved everything about that. The other thing that I really liked, not only in this book, but you'll see it grow within the other books in the series, is just the underlying plot. So when I said that danger comes into Green Creek, that plot line, I guess I'll say, without trying to like spoil it, it grows throughout the series. And it is a focus in the series, but I feel like this is a more character-driven series than it is plot. There's plot there, but it definitely, to me, focuses more on the characters. But the plot that we do have, I still like it. And there are quite a few twists and turns and revelations that we do get throughout the series. Now for this one, I did rate this one a 4 stars. I did like it. I do feel like there were a few slow moments throughout this book, but I did like it. Now, when I was going through some of the reviews on Goodreads, I did see a lot of criticisms as far as the romance between Ox and Joe because of their age difference. I did say there was like a 6-year age difference, and a lot of people didn't like that. But in my defense of that, I will say that I didn't have a problem with it because they didn't act upon their romance until they were both of age. Even though, yes, there was like, you could tell something was happening between them when they first met, but it was kind of like a friendship thing, and it was like explained later on like what was going on. But nothing happened, nothing was acted upon until they were both of age, so I didn't have a problem with it. But a lot of people did have a problem with it. Not a lot of people, but the reviews that I read, some people did have a problem with it, but it did not bother me. If you are somebody that likes romance in a book, you're definitely going to get it from here. There's not like a lot of sex scenes in these books. I feel like these books follow the same formula in each one. There's a lot of like lead up to a romance, to like the sexy time in the book. And then when you get there, it's graphic. And then that's the only one that you're going to get. And then it's it. You're done. But if you like that, you're going to get that here. It's definitely a slow build to the romance in every book. Slowly. Very slow. But I enjoy the romance in each one. These are definitely LGBTQ plus friendly. So if you like your gay / queer books, these are going to be for you. So I was here for that as well. I enjoyed that for that. So if you like that, you're going to get that here. I ended up giving Wolfsong 4 stars. And then the next book in the series is Raven Song, which I ended up giving this one 5 stars. This one is my favorite book in the series. I liked the 2 main characters that we focused on in this book. I did not think that there was a dull moment in this book. In this one in particular, it did something a little bit different than what we had in Wolfsong. This one we were following a dual timeline. So we were doing a past and a present timeline, which I enjoyed. I think it could be a little confusing at first, but once you got into it, I really enjoyed it. And like I said, the main thing that I enjoyed was the 2 characters that we followed, and the storyline with those 2 characters really tugged at my heartstrings. And this was my favorite, my absolute favorite one. Then the next one we have as part of the main book is Heart Song, which I gave this one 4 stars. And again, really liked the main characters that we followed in this one. And then the last one, a part of the main books we have is Brother Song. And unfortunately, with this book, I gave it a 3 stars. This was my least favorite as far as the main series goes. So this one does something a little different as far as who it follows. So the main thing that we do in each of these books is we follow a mate. It's the main perspective of the book is told from a mate of the Bennett Pact. So in the first book, we were following Ox, who was the mate of Joe, and Joe is from the Bennett Pact. So each of the books follows the mate of someone from the Bennett Pact. In this one, we actually follow one of the brothers from the Bennett Pact instead of his mate, if that makes sense. So that was a little different, and I'm not really too sure I liked how TJ Klune went in that direction. And then at the beginning of the story, which I did like, was how he did a really good recap of the 3 books overall. So if you took a really long break in between reading this one from the other 3 books, I think it did a really nice job of recapping you and letting you know what happened in the other 3 books before just jumping you right into the story. I think it did a fantastic job of that. Where my problem came into it with this one was that it kept recapping you on what happened. It was so repetitive that at times I just felt myself skimming. It was to the point that you could probably have cut out a third of this book because it was nothing but like recap, and it was just not needed. After you recap it once, if I forgot what you said, I could just flip back to the beginning. I don't need you to keep telling me the same thing over and over and over again. And it was just like you kept telling me the same thing from a different person. And it was just not needed. And the perspective that I wanted this book to come from, I think the story would have been just a little bit different and way more interesting, because that person, I think, would have shed so much light on some of the missing pieces in this book. You would have had to read this series to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was too repetitive. And I don't like it when I find myself skimming something, because if I'm reading a book, I want to read it. I don't want to have to skim something. And I just felt like I skimmed a lot of it. And then I felt like the ending to the series was just a little anticlimactic, and it wrapped up a little too nicely, I guess. And it just was a little too perfect, I guess, for everything that everybody went through. It was just kind of like, okay, I guess I'll take that since that's what you're giving me. But this one was just okay for me. But I mean, overall, I still really enjoyed the series, but this one definitely was not my favorite out of the 4 main books. When it comes to the novellas, the first one was Love Song. And I'm just going to tell you up front right now that when it comes to the novellas, I gave all of them 3 stars. So the first one was a Love Song. And in this one, it was told primarily from Joe's mother, Elizabeth's perspective. I definitely would not read this without having read the other 2 books, because it definitely recaps the other 2 books. But I gave it a 3 stars. I thought it was fine. The next one was Feral Song. Again, 3 stars. It gave a perspective from each of the characters, which I thought that was nice and different. And then the last one was Love Song Part 2, which we came back to Elizabeth, the mother's perspective again. And like I said, I gave them all 3 stars. I thought they were fine. I don't necessarily think they were needed. I think you can definitely not have read these and not missed anything. They're almost kind of like, I don't even remember what they were about, because they were more so recapping what happened and kind of giving you more insight of, I'm going to tell you what happened, and from this character's perspective, this is how they were feeling during this event in this part of the story. That's pretty much what these were about. They weren't really giving you anything different. They didn't reveal anything new. That was it for me. I don't think it was anything new that you needed. You're not missing anything if you decide to skip these. If you want to read them, I think the most impactful one for me was the first one, Love Song, which was Elizabeth's story. You want to read that one, but the other 2, don't really think you have to necessarily read them. But I say they're free, they're out there. If you're gonna read the series, you might as well read everything that is available to you. So if I had to sit here, and since we're talking about it, if I had to sit here and rate them, now for the most part, I gave one of them a 5 stars, 2 of them 4 stars, and 1 a 3 stars. I would have to say my favorite obviously is the 5 stars, which would be Raven Song. Absolutely freaking love this one because I love the 2 characters. My next favorite one would have to be Heart Song, because I liked one of the characters that we talked about. He just touched my heartstrings, and I can like vividly picture him in my mind, so I really like that one. And then it would have to be Wolf Song. And then after that, I would definitely recommend the Green Creek series if you are a TJ Klune fan. This will give you I think pretty much everything you would be looking for. If you are looking for something that has romance, if you are looking for something that has like the fantastical elements with the werewolves and the witches, it has magic, it has the friendships, it has the family elements, it has it's funny, it's sad, it has a lot of the tense moments, it has action. Anything that you are like looking for in a series, I think at some point you are going to get that in one of these, if not all of these books. I really enjoyed them. Even my least favorite one, I still enjoyed it. I would highly recommend this series. This is like one of those series that at certain points I find myself flipping back to certain parts of these books because I really enjoyed at least something in each one of these. I really enjoyed this. I cannot recommend this series enough. TJ Klune really did something with this. I enjoyed this better than that House of the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. So I would highly recommend the Green Creek series. If you guys have not checked it out, I would definitely do so. Again, I will link everything down in my description bar if you are interested. So you do not have to go far. Just click down in there. I will have everything down there readily available. And that is all that I have for you guys. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.